right, guys, Thursday night, man. It's so great seeing everybody. Tonight, we're talking Finish the Mission. And if you have your Bibles, we're going to be in Genesis 11. All right, so we're going to be in Genesis 11 and 12. And I'll explain why, because both of these come together at some point. It's a little weird. And it says, and then Terah took his son Abram, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ahead of the time here. Abram and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, and his son Abram's wife, and they went out with them from the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. And so the days of Terah were 245 years, and Terah died in Haran. Now, here in Genesis 12, it says, and now the Lord said to Abram, he says, get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curses you. And in all the families of the earth shall be blessed. And so Abram departed from the Lord, as the Lord had spoken to him, and he went, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And then Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot's his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran, and they departed to go to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan, and Abraham passed through the land to the place of Shechem, and as far as a terebinth tree of Morah, and the Canaanites were in the land. And then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your descendants, I will give this land. And he built there an altar to the Lord who appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched a tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built an altar to the Lord, and he called on the name of the Lord. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. This story picks up. And it's probably the only, and I wish Nelson was here because that way I can get some feedback on that. It's the only story in the Bible that it's backwards. Because you see, it starts off with the lineage of Terah, Abraham, I'm going to say Abraham, even though it's Abram at the time, Abraham's father, and him dying. And then it shows Abraham being called out of the Chaldeans. And so it's basically written backwards. 12 should be 11 and 11 should be 12. I don't understand why that's written that way. Really, no theologian has really, expanded on it. They just said it's the way it is. I don't know if it was, Moses, did that for lineage purposes or hierarchy, whatever the case may be. But we know that it was Abraham that was called out of the Chaldeans, because if you look in Book of Acts, I think Acts 7:25, you see where Stephen, the first martyr, describes the story of Abraham. And what's going on here is Abraham is in the Chaldeans, which would be modern day Iraq today. And God calls him and he tells him, listen, take you and your wife and get out of here, go to the land I'm going to show you, and to Canaan, and I'm going to give you, I'm going to bless you beyond. So what happens is, instead of listening to God, he told his father, and his father says, okay, let's go. Now, Terah, Abraham's father, or Abram at the time, was an idol maker. He used to make idols for the temple of Diana outside, probably the god of Tammuz that was worshipped in the time in the Chaldeans. So the man he made idols for a living. So God obviously didn't call this man out to make him a great nation. He called his son. So what Abraham did is he took the entire family. He took his dad. He took his dad's, servants. He took his uncle's kid, Lot. He took everybody. And so he just, hey, let's go. And so they're traveling along. And the whole mission was to get to Canaan, which would be modern day Israel today, Jerusalem. But somewhere down the line, Abram at the time decided to stop in Haran. He just stopped. No rhyme, no reason. He just decided, hey, you know what? Haran seems like a good place. I'm going to go ahead and pitch my tent here. And this is as far as I'm going to go. And then what happens is tragedy, struck Abraham, and his father dies at the age of 245. And then God calls him again and he says, get up from the land of your father's house and go. where I told you to begin with. Now, guys, this is so important to us because you see, if Abraham would have stayed in Haran, Abraham wouldn't have become the father of all the nations. You see, God took Abraham from Ur of the Chaldeans, took him to Canaan, gave him the land, and through Abraham, every known person is a descendant. Now, Abraham is the father of three of the major religions of the world we know today. Judaism claims to have Abraham as the father of their religion, rightfully so. Christianity claims him to be his father of the religion, rightfully so. And the Muslim religion claims him to be also the father of their religion. So you have three major religions claim Abraham to be their head person. And that the Bible says that every descendant upon the earth would be from his seed, that everyone was a seed of Abraham. Now, to get into Abraham's lineage and all that, I mean, we'd be here all night and into next week to get into all that. So I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to get into is Abram's decision to stay in Haran. You see, after leaving Ur, midway through the journey, literally midway through the journey, in the city called Haran, is a big city, he decides to pack up and just says, hey, you know what? We're stopping the U-Haul right here. This is as far as I'm going. See, even though God had called him for something greater in Canaan, he decided to stop. No rhyme or reason. He just, hey, this looks like a good place and I'll settle here. And I think that that's what we do in our own lives. It's a reflection of who we are. I guess we being descendants of Abraham, I think we picked that up. You see, I think God has called us for something greater. And, and he's called us out of our own Ur of the Chaldeans, out of being lost in the world, being in, doing things apart from God. And he's called us for a greater purpose. But somehow we decided to stop. And now each one of us either finds ourselves in Haran or somewhere still in Ur. And we're asking ourselves, well, what's going on in my life that I am not seeing, what God has done, is going to do for me. My life is pretty much at a standstill. It's, get up, go to work, come back, deal with the same problems, deal with this, deal with that every single day. And I find no purpose and I find no meaning for my life. And nothing is going the way I want it to go. And we're asking ourselves and we question God and we're like, man, what's up? And the what's up is you're stuck in Haran. You see, God called you for something greater, but you decided, we're going to stop right here. We're going to stop at the midway point. For some reason, we think that we were placed on this earth to be police officers or to be doctors or to be lawyers or to be teachers or be whatever it is. And we think that that's our given purpose. And let me just be very blunt here, guys. That is not our purpose on this earth. That is our occupation on this earth. That is what we find, what we do for a living. It is not who we are. It does not define us. No matter what our job is tonight, what we're doing, it doesn't define who we are in God. You see, God placed us here on this earth with a mission, with a purpose greater than us. He gave us something bigger than us. He didn't place you on this earth to put in 40 hours a week, maybe get a house, a boat, a wife, some kids, retire, and then just, go to the great beyond. That's not the purpose he called you for. He called you for something bigger. But you see, we've managed to box ourselves in this small little world that we call our world and our purpose. And we think that that's it. So you think that this great God that created the heavens, the earth, everything around us, put your DNA in you, gave you a set of fingerprints, 1 in 7 billion, decided, hey, you know what? I need another police officer, or I need another doctor, or I need another lawyer, or I need another pharmacist, or I need another, worker. So I'm just going to place you in that field and that's where I need you. Absolutely not. Take your field, whatever you're doing tonight, and ask yourselves, how many of the men or women around me are Christians? Probably they will outnumber you 1,000 to 1 in your profession. So why would God place you in that profession to do what? Absolutely nothing. He placed you there because that was what you were going to do, but you were called for something bigger. Because if God needed you in that position, he would have placed somebody else, because simply somebody else can do your job. Whatever you're doing right now in your profession, somebody else can do it. You're not unique to your career field. You are not unique at all. There's 1,000 cops. There's a million lawyers. There's a million of whatever you are. And the day you retire, somebody else is going to take your position. As you're walking out, somebody else is going to be walking in. So let's clear that real quick. When we think that, no, this is my purpose in life, it is to do what I'm doing right now. Absolutely not. Your mission is something bigger and greater that you probably to this day on earth, you still haven't realized what it is. But we find ourselves stuck in Haran when we were supposed to be en route to Canaan. You see, God calls us for something bigger and greater, and we feel that, oh, well, this is what God gave me, and so this is where I'm just going to sit it out here and wait it out. And that's not what he wants for you. He wants something bigger, but we don't have the vision to see that. And the thing is that in our own lives, when God calls us to do something, we bring in something else to the table that God didn't call us to bring in. You see, when Abraham was called, he was told to take his family, told him to take his wife. They had no kids at the time because Sarai at the time was barren. She had no children. So God tells Abram, you and Sarah, pack it up, head on over to Canaan. But no, everybody decided to go. Everybody. And I can imagine, God looking down and saying, I didn't call everybody. I called you. I called you and you only. But you see, but that's the thing. It's like everything in life. We bring in baggage into a situation. We bring in something extra to everything we do. Even in our marriages, we bring in baggage from maybe a previous marriage or a previous situation where it's like, I used to do this before, it's somewhere else, so I'll do it here again. And God doesn't want that. You see, your marriage, your past marriage doesn't need what you did in the past in your present marriage. Your present marriage should start from scratch. The way you raised your kids, maybe 20 years ago, and if you had one at a later point in life, you can't raise them the same way. I think in one of the biggest things that, at least in the profession that I'm in and most of us here are in tonight, is when you always get an officer from another agency comes to your agency and he says, well, we used to do it this way over there, where I used to work at. Well, I've always wanted to say, well, now you're here. We don't do that like that. This is the way we do it. But it's that mindset of bringing something that you shouldn't have brought into the first place. And that's what makes things fall apart at the seams. Abram had no business bringing the entire family with him. On the contrary, by doing that, he stopped in Haran. That was the only reason he stopped, because his father, Terah, as stories outside of the Bible say, that's where Terah found it to be a good, pleasing place to stay. And they stayed there. Imagine if Abram would have just stopped in Haran. We'd have never heard of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It would have been the God of whoever and Isaac and Jacob, or whatever he would have named his sons. The story would have never unfolded. Abram would have never been Abraham, and his descendants wouldn't have flooded the earth. Imagine the greatest purpose that one man had was hinging on listening to what God had called him to do, to finish his mission. And if he wouldn't have finished the mission, what would have happened? Historically, things would have been different. It would have been mind-boggling to assume that Abraham would have died in Haran just like his father and never met the goal of doing what God had called him to do. You know how many men have lived spiritually, died, and never done what God has called them to do, and have lived miserable, existing lives because we sit there and think this is all that's it. And we say, man, God really has a sense of humor. This is it. It's for me to wake up, go to work, pay my bills, maybe have some fun every now and then, get a vacation in every now and then that's it, and just grow old. That's not what God called you for. He called you for something bigger than you could ever imagine. But the fact of the matter is, gentlemen, most of us are living in Haran, and we refuse to live there. And we know we were called to go to Canaan. But you know what? Haran looks okay from right here, from my vantage point. So I think I'll just stay here for now. And that is where we are spiritually dying. We are not seeing the greater value that God has given us. We're not seeing the fruition of what God wants to do within us, in our families. We're stuck. We're basically stuck in this 4x4 room and pouting. Why are we here to begin with? And God's saying, I got something bigger. I got something better for you. I got something that's just going to blow you away, but you refuse to go out and do it. Abraham was given a mission. Abraham, get up from the country of your father and go to Canaan. And when you get there, I'll let you know what I need you to do. So Abraham leaves. Mistake number one, the entire family packed up with him, extended family. Number two, he stops in Haran. And then it wasn't until tragedy bestowed on Abram that he finally decided to leave when he lost his father there at the age of 245. That was devastating for Abraham because he worshiped his father. His father was everything to him. And sometimes God uses pain and affliction to wake us up. Sometimes God uses these things to say, hey, snap out of it. Hello, I need you to do what you were called to do. And sometimes he'll allow these things to happen. And those are the things that jolt us to go ahead and move forward in our lives. And we don't understand the pain at the moment, but down the line, we realize that moment of frustration, that moment of pain, that moment of what I'm going through right now was basically the foundation that's going to take me to something bigger and greater that I wasn't even aware that was going to happen. So for Abram, it was Terah dying. And then finally he snapped up and said, hey, you know what? I need to leave this place. I need to get out of Haran. I need to go to Canaan like I was called to do. And I need to take care of business. The thing is that we want to spiritualize everything. Sometimes in life, when we were putting this group together, I'd call some of the guys and they're like, hey, you want to join this and that? And I'm like, well, I got to pray about it. You don't got to pray about worshiping God, about studying the Bible, about being part of a men's group. Come on. Did you ask God when you bought your house? Did you ask God when you married your wife? Did you ask God when you bought your car, when you spent a fortune on that TV or, on that boat? You didn't pray to God and ask him, hey, God, what do you think about this? Should I do this? Should I, shouldn't? There's things that we're called to do that we don't have to think about it. We know that God is telling us to do it. And maybe God has called you to do something and you're just saying, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm not prepared for that. Or I don't have the capacity for that. And I can't do that. Or you know what? Maybe I could do it, but I need to bring some friends along and they're going to help me because, this guy knows something a little bit about that more than I do. So if I bring him into the mix, then I can go ahead and do it. Absolutely not. God has called you and you only. We mess things up when we decide to go color outside the lines and do stuff that God didn't call us to do. What has God called you to do? Look at your life, reflect on everything that you've been up to at this time and ask yourself, am I still in Ur or am I in Haran or am I halfway to Canaan right now? Those are the questions that we got to ask ourselves tonight as men, because we're doing this not only in our spiritual aspect, we're doing it in our personal aspect as well. We're bringing stuff that shouldn't be in. We're bringing stuff into our marriage that was in our past marriages. We're bringing stuff with our children that maybe we did, when they were younger. Now we're trying to do the same thing now that they're older. Or we're trying to raise the same situation with stepchildren that we may have living under our roof. Or we try to do that in our work environment, bringing stuff from other jobs into the current job. And God said, that's got no place in it. It's a fresh start. It's a new place. I'm doing something new here. I need you to go. Stop bringing baggage into a situation. We ourselves literally destroy our own futures by doing such things. When God says, hey, drop everything and follow me. Stop carrying around yesterday's trash. Stop thinking about your past mistakes, about your past failures, about what you didn't do right, or what you could have done good, or what you could have done, or what you didn't do. God doesn't want to hear that. He's telling you, I need you in Canaan. I called you to go to Canaan. You stopped in Haran. So snap out of it, drop everything, and follow me. Abraham didn't question God. He literally just said, let's go. I'm all in. I'm all in to finish the mission. Gentlemen, God has called you for a bigger purpose. He's placed you on a mission on this earth. Maybe you don't know what that mission is tonight, but I ask you and I urge you with every fiber of my being, pray to God and ask him, Lord, what is my mission on this earth? I thank you for my profession. I thank you for the career you've blessed me with, that provides, that puts food on the table, puts, roof over the head. But what is it that you have called me to do? Because there's something bigger and better that you've given me besides this, because this isn't it. This isn't what you promised. I want something bigger. I want something better that you have afforded for me. You see, Abraham was just in the middle of Ur the Chaldeans, a nomad, living in his father's house, watching his dad make idols. And God said, hey, if you follow me and you go to Canaan, I am going to bless you. What is the Lord telling him? He says, you see the sands on the earth? You see the stars in the heaven? Count them. So shall be your descendants. Imagine God telling you that. Look at the stars in the heaven. Look at the sand beneath your feet. Those are going to be your descendants on earth. And your wife was barren at the time, couldn't even have kids. That just mind boggles. So now look at your situation right now. Where are you at right now? Look at the financial mess we might be in, the mess in our marriage we might be in, the mess with our children we might be in, the mess in our work we might be in. Whatever your mess is tonight, look around you. And God is saying, if you follow me, I'm going to make you great. Your name shall be great, because he placed a purpose in your life. But you got to finish the mission. Because you see, the more you spend time in Haran just sitting there, the more God is in Cana whispering, you need to be over here. But you're over here. You're right here. And you need to be over there. And as long as you're not over there, there's nothing I can do. I cannot bless you in Haran because I didn't call you to go to Haran. I can't make something great out of you in Haran. I can't make you change from Abram to Abraham in Haran. But if you get to Cana, I promise you, you're gonna do what I called you to do, and you're gonna be greater than what you ever thought you were. And I'm gonna take you out of the mess that you're in, and I'm gonna bless you, and I'm gonna bless your descendants and the descendants of after that. And those that curse you, I will curse, and those that will bless you, I will bless you. That is a promise given to Abraham and his descendants that didn't expire, that didn't stop in Genesis 11 and Genesis 12. That continues today in 2021. I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. But why don't we receive the blessing and we're getting more of the curse? Because we're still stuck in Haran. See, in Haran, we got a house, we got a boat, we got a career, we got some kids, we got some vacations every now and then, we're good. Life is good in Haran. Couldn't ask for anything better. Yeah, my marriage is a little bit, in a mess. Kids, could be better. Work situation is, but, I'm getting by. I'm stressed out. I got anxiety. I can't sleep, this and that. But, I'm working my ass off. But, it's all right, man. It's all right. Haran is okay. Really? And Cana's just sitting there. Cana's just sitting there waiting for you to show up, just to blow your mind with what God can do when you are obedient to him. When a man is obedient to God, he will open up the heavens and pour down a blessing that you would even realize that can happen. But we're stuck in Haran and we can't see that. We're stuck in the middle of nowhere, caught between the old ways of us doing things prior to believing in God and being a Christian, where we need to be in God, and we're just stuck in the middle, complaining and saying, is this it? This is what I was placed on this earth for? This is my purpose in life? When God calls you to do something, do it. When God calls you to do something, get up, don't ask questions, do it. See, I know a lot of guys have had the calling on their lives to either be a preacher, to preach or something like, I'm going to ask my pastor and see if he's on board. No, don't ask your pastor. God called you. He didn't tell you, go see your pastor and see if he approves of it. And then, it's okay. If he called you to do something, then you do it. You didn't consult anybody to do the career field that you're doing. You decided this is what you wanted to do. You applied for the position. You did the training. You got on and boom, here I am. You didn't consult anybody. You did it on your own. So why is it that when God calls us to do something, we got to get a council of people, we need a cabinet all of a sudden, we feel like we're the president, we got to get like 14, 16 people to get on board. And then, okay, I'll go ahead and do it because everybody's in agreement. It's not what God's calling you to do. He called you and you only, when I felt the calling to start this ministry, normally I would have called, some of my dear closest friends in the ministry. I would have called, say, hey, the Lord put this in my heart to do this. Hey, are you on board? Can you help me? This and that. And I would have scrambled and gotten 5 or 6 guys and gotten a core group and gotten a team and would have gotten together. And, and that's how I always did things, always, all my life. And it always failed because I relied on other people when God would call me to do something. But this one time I started on the same path. I said, hey, I'm going to call this person and I'm going to call that one. And, and my wife said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm calling my friends, I haven't been in ministry for a while. So, I need these people to come around me and we're going to build this up. And she's like, did they call them or did they call you? And I said, no, they called me, but, I need them to help me. She says, is that what God told you? And I said, no. I mean, what I felt for God was, just to start a men's ministry. She said, well, then do that. Don't wait for everybody else, to get on board with it. So you're on board with it. You do what you've been called to do and take care of your business. And I had to do that. And for the first time in my life, I had to do this pretty much on my own. And up to now, here I am a year and a half later, and we're still here and we're still meeting. by the grace of God. And that's because, you know what? I was obedient. And even still, a year and a half later, I still feel that I'm stuck in Haran because I feel like, you know, the Lord has told us to expand the ministry, to do bigger and greater things. And I'm the one that's holding back and saying, I don't want to move. I don't want to go to Canaan. I like it here in Haran. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with Thursday nights. I'm comfortable with the group of guys we got and focusing on that. And I don't want to, you know, I don't want to break out of the shell. And I'm happy in Haran. So I like to think sometimes, but I'm not, because I know the voice of God is still there every day saying, hey, get up and go to Canaan. Get up and go to Canaan. And I'm fighting God day and night because I want to stay in Haran. And maybe you are in the same situation. You know, you love going to work, getting up in the morning, doing everything. You know, you got a smile on your face, do whatever you got to do. But you know, deep in your heart, you were called for something bigger. You were called for something greater. You were called to just rock this world in a way that it's never been done before. And maybe you don't believe that because you're like, come on, who am I? Abraham thought the same thing. Who am I, God? Out of billions of people, you know, on this known earth, who am I that you would call me? Who am I that you would say that my descendants would populate the earth, that would be like the stars of the heavens? If my wife can't even have kids, why would you call me out of so many men? I'm the least qualified to do such a thing. But yet, May 22nd, 2019, we started this group. And I said, God, I'm the least person that can lead a group. And here we are, September 2021, still going at it. Still going strong at it. I'm sorry, it was May 2020. And here we are, still going strong. And every day I wake up and say, God, who am I? Who am I that you would give me the opportunity? Because I've blown it 1,000,000 times. I've blown it more times than I've succeeded. I am no one. I am nobody for you to give me the opportunity. I am the least among you. But yet he said, I called you, didn't I? I didn't just put you on this earth to work a 9 to 5. To put in 40 hours a week. I called you for something greater. Why? Because I made you a man in my image. I carved you. I formed you in your mother's womb. I knew the hairs on your head. That's why. And just like he did it to me, he's done it to each and every one of you. He's placed you on this earth for something greater, gentlemen. I can't take you to Canaan. I can't go to your Haran and say, get up and get out of here. That's got to be the decision you make. For Abraham, it was losing his father. That was a tragic event in his life that shook Abraham to go ahead and get up and leave. For me, it was being in a hospital bed after the accident. That was my Haran moment. Because I knew when I left that hospital, I told my wife, Joey, on May 31st, 2019, died. And that guy's not coming back. But the guy who is coming out of this hospital back, that's a totally different person. Because I cannot be the same man that I was that came into this hospital, walk out of it, because then it served no purpose whatsoever. That was my Haran moment. Abraham, it was Tara's passing. Mine was a hospital. What is your Haran moment? Because if you fail to recognize that moment, then you, like Tara, are going to wither away in that desolate little place called Haran. Where are you at now? Where are you at now? That is where you're going to wither away. And you're going to look back when you can't do it anymore, or you're laying in the bed, you know, saying your goodbyes. You're going to say, man, was I intended to do something greater than this? I'll never know now. But you have an opportunity tonight. You have an opportunity tonight to say, you know what? I am in Haran. I am in Haran, and I need to get up and I need to go to Canaan. And I promise you, gentlemen, I promise you, if you get up and you go and you follow the word of God and you follow the call of God in your life, he is going to bless you. He is going to blow your mind, and your life is going to be something that you will never even recognize what God can do until you get up and go. So where are you at tonight? Are you still in Ur? Are you in Haran? Or have you gotten up and you're walking towards Canaan? I don't know. Only you can answer that tonight. But what I can tell you is that you were called for something greater. You were called for something greater. You just don't know it yet. I didn't know it, but you were. Because that is a promise that comes down from Genesis 11 to today, September 2nd, 2021. Still holds true. I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. I will make your descendants count them like the stars. Gentlemen, get up and get out from your Haran tonight. Throw off the baggage. Throw off your past. Throw off your woes. Throw off your mistakes. Throw off whatever you think is holding you back, whatever's dragging you down. Get rid of it. Don't carry it into Cana. My God, do not carry all that baggage into Cana. Don't carry your past. Don't carry your faults. Don't carry your mistakes, the time that you blew it. Forget about all that. Leave that in Haran tonight. Get up. Start fresh. Start walking. And when you get there, you're going to turn around and you're going to say, whoa, I should have gotten here sooner. I should have gotten here sooner. But you know what? It's never too late. It's never too late. Can you breathe? Can you walk? Can you talk? Start walking. Start walking, gentlemen, and get your butts to Cana and turn this around. Finish the mission. Finish the mission that you were placed on this earth, gentlemen. You were placed here for something bigger and greater. Finish the mission. Guys, that's all I got, man. The floor is yours.